Hi guys, Eileen here from Homegrown Happiness. Welcome back to another video. I've been wanting to do September's video for ages, but it's been like terrible weather. We had like nice weather on the 1st of September, so everyone was like, yay, spring's here, and then it's like been cold and windy and rainy. So on today's list of jobs is to plant potatoes, because I got sent these spring potatoes from TUI Garden Products, which is awesome. They're a summer delight, which can be an early crop or a mid-season crop depending how big you want to get them. Yeah, so I'm going to start planting those. So this is the area that I'm going to be planting potatoes. So I've been prepping this bed quite a lot lately. Last month I put on heaps of seaweed and compost and manure, and I'm going to add a little bit more compost as well when I dig the trenches for the potatoes. So the blue bucket of compost comes from one of my favourite compost piles at home, because it's the one that's right outside our front door. So when it's raining and cold and dark, we just dump it without really looking where we're dumping it. We just throw it outside and it seems to land on the pile, and then every so often I'll just cover it with hay. So it's not too much of an eyesore, but it's really not pretty at the same time. Not pretty, but practical. So I'm going to use some of that compost because it breaks down pretty well, for the fact that we don't do anything to it except for dump stuff on it. It's probably one of my better compost piles, and always full of worms, and the bottom is always like really good and really dark, crumbly really quickly. So, you know, I think the key to compost is just blindly throwing stuff on a pile, maybe. So I'm just going to start by digging some trenches here. So digging like this is something I actually hate doing, because I see all the worms in there that I'm disturbing while I'm doing it. But for potatoes, it is kind of necessary. I'm actually doing them in bags. I'm really pleased with the soil, so you can see that all that beautiful compost and seaweed and manure that I put on has started to break down, and it's just looking so nice. So I'm just checking out some of the potatoes that came in the bag, and most of them have pretty good eyes on them already. So they've been sprouting in the bag, obviously, so I think that these will be fine to plant now. And then there's a couple like this one that has nothing, either they've come off, so I think I'll just leave them out a little bit longer. So there's a few that I'll plant later on, but these ones are good to go in. Sometimes you'll have potatoes that have like really good sprouts, eyes like this all around the potato, and then you kind of want to rub off some of them, so you leave 2 to 3 strong ones. You can also cut your potatoes, so if you've got heaps of good sprouts coming out, you can cut it so that each individual piece can then become a potato plant. Just dry them out for a couple of days before you pop them in the ground, or they'll rot. And just place them in the trenches with the eyes sticking up. Okay, so I've got 3 trenches, and the trench is about 15 centimetres deep, and I've placed the potatoes about 10 centimetres away from each other. And now I'm going to cover them. And so I'm going to just cover them with the soil and stuff that I've already dug up, and then I'm going to top it with some more compost in this bucket. When the potato shoots come up, then I'm just going to keep on mounding on some hay. You can use compost or whatever you've got, but it doesn't actually need to be compost, because it's just to stop the potatoes from being able to reach the sun. So you can totally just use hay or leaves or whatever you've got. Okay, that's my potato patch done. So I've spent quite a while prepping that soil. There's seaweed and aged manure and compost in there, so that's going to feed my potatoes. But if you haven't, or you want to kind of just start now and you haven't had a chance to prep your beds, TUI Garden Products has a really good potato food that you can give your potatoes as well, which contains all the right nutrients that they need to grow. So now in the garden things have like really slowed down here. Everything that I planted like late summer, early autumn has pretty much been harvested, except for things like spinach and Swiss chard and stuff that we can just keep coming and cutting. But everything else is kind of just slow now. I've got a couple of brassicas still here. Well, I've got quite a few actually, lots of cauliflower and some cauliflower down there that I'm still waiting on, but they won't be ready for ages because just the sun is just a real issue. So like you can see now, it's about 10:30 and there is some sun. So it started off at the top and now it's moved down here, and so it's going to stay here for maybe another hour or two, and then it's going to move to there, and then it's going to move away. I'll show you guys what's going on. So here there were loads of broad beans, and they got knocked down in a storm that we had this week, so that was a real shame. So heaps of them were pulled out completely or ripped at the base, like you can still see here. It's just been really rough on them. So these ones are still at least in the ground, so they'll come right. See, they're already popping up because nature's good like that. It was my bad for not staking them. Like usually we don't get that much wind in this garden. It seems to be just a little bit sheltered because of the fact that it's kind of in a valley, but this time we really did, so I was not prepared for that, so a lot of my broad beans are gone. And then I've got some Brussel sprouts that are finally getting some height, and little sprouts are growing. See, at the bottom there's lots, but then it kind of just stopped here, and I was like, oh, am I only going to get this many? But now it's really come up because of the couple of hours sun that this area now gets. Okay, and here are my asparagus, and I don't know if I showed you guys on video yet, but look, they've all nicely come up, so I'll let those keep growing, and in 3 years I'll be able to enjoy them. And then I've got some carrots. Oh, and here is my little plant nursery, where what I've done is really scientifically shoved cuttings into the soil to see if they'll root, because I've had some success with this quite a bit actually, especially with plums. So now I've also got some apricot and some nectarine in there to see what happens. And this bed here I had heaps of kale, which did pretty good. Like it did, well, I mean, great for the fact that it got no sun, so we ate that for months. But I've started chopping it down now because it's just going to seed, so we ate all that, and then we ate the rest of the plant, and I've just left it and prepped the soil and just put some lettuce on there for now, just to fill some space, but then something more decent can go there. Like I'm thinking that might be my zucchini bed this year. Last year I had corn there, and it did alright, but it's not actually the sunniest spot in the garden, so I think if I was going to do corn again I'd have to move that, but it'll totally be sunny enough for zucchini. Right, and on this side I have some blueberries. So these blueberries are all grown from cuttings as well, so they're real slow, but they're alive. They're growing new growth, just slowly. Some flowers on there. These ones are doing better. Blueberries are just so expensive at the garden stores, and another one that's so easy to grow from cuttings. Okay, up the stairs. So this used to be a strawberry bed, but I moved them because it was taking up quite a sunny spot, and I would like to use it for other things. So for now I have some fennel bulbs in there, and some more cauliflower, and some rhubarb, celery, and more cauliflowers there too. So I did a video about 2 months ago on collecting Scion wood, because I was going to do some grafting of trees, of the little cherry tree seedlings that were around the property, but unfortunately the actual cherry tree seedlings were like a little bit too thin to do proper grafting on, a little bit too soft for my Scion wood. So I've done some chip budding instead. I was going to do the whip and tongue graft, but I think I was just rushing it a little bit. I should wait until they're bigger, maybe try again next year. But in the meantime I did do some chip budding, and they have actually already taken, so I'm pretty pleased with that. I'll show you guys. Okay, so I've done 2 little chip buds here of an edible cherry. So this is a ornamental cherry rootstock, and then 2 little. So they've been on there about a month, and they've started opening up and looking really good. So I'm very happy with those. So now for future plans for the garden, I have my seedlings growing. I've just started hardening off my kale and my broccoli seedlings so I can get some more brassica in, and I am thinning them by just snipping the extra ones that I don't want, so the less strong ones, and then just eating them as microgreens. This is a good way because it doesn't disturb the roots that it might if you just pulled out the seedlings you didn't want. See, I just used some of my pocket knife scissors and thinned them out. I made a makeshift glass house a little while ago with some recycled windows that I got from the tip, and just made a wooden box, and so I put that in the front yard because it's one of the sunnier spots of the garden, and I'm going to have been using that for my seedlings just to keep them there because they're getting a little bit too big to keep inside, so the ones that I've transplanted into bigger pots. And today I'm also going to my parents' place, though I'm going to use their glass house for my melons and my cucumber, so I can get an early start on those as well as some dwarf beans. And then when I do plant out my seedlings, I'll be soaking them first in a seaweed solution just to avoid some transplant shock. And for the rest, it's just a waiting game. It's still really wet on the soil, so I don't want to work in it really, except for the potatoes. A lot of weeds are coming through now with my through my mulch, so I'll need to put another layer on. So that's the idea with deep mulching, is if you left it, it would take over and absolutely weeds would germinate everywhere. But now I will just keep piling on layers to block out the germinating weeds. So I'm just waiting on some more hay to come. So I've got a lady who uses it for her horses, and then the stuff that gets a bit too manky for the horses she gives to me, which is awesome. So I'm going to add some of that on, but a lot of waiting still. It's really exciting to think about everything you can plant when spring gets here. I'm like bad at that. I get really excited for spring, and then when the weather changes I get all down because I've just been waiting for the sun to come. So I just need to learn to just be patient and enjoy the downtime that comes with a early spring winter garden, because when summer comes it's going to get really busy. And that's it for September's video, so nothing too exciting, but hopefully next month we'll get a little bit more action because I'll be planting out some of my summer crops, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye.